Good afternoon. My name is Scott Forcino. I'm an associate broker at Real Brokerage. I'm also a representative of Kensington Vanguard Title Insurance Company. My background has been in real estate as an attorney and a broker since 1992 and 1997, representing banks, buyers, and sellers in the New York metropolitan area. Victoria, your introduction?
My name is Victoria Rivadeneira. I've been in the real estate industry for about 37 years, if you can believe that. Time goes by really quickly. I have been a top producing agent. I owned an independent real estate company. I later went on to own a large franchised real estate brand. Then went on to the corporate side where I was a divisional president for an international real estate company. I was the vice president of a large brand. I was a radio show host at iHeart. I was also a regular guest on a national network on TV, on the morning show. I have been in a number of different roles. I just followed the journey and it brought me here. Now I'm a real estate consultant and I'm very passionate about agents and their success in our industry.
And Jay?
So, hey guys, Jay Macklin here, owner broker, Platinum Living Realty here in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. I have been in the real estate industry since 2006. I had a prior career for about 22 years in the car business. So yes, I'm a used car salesman. But I will tell you that when I first got in real estate in 06, the market, as you know, had changed dramatically in 08. So I had the luxury of going through an amazing market from 2008 to 2012 or 13 when it started coming back up. But really what I got into is we were a team leader. My wife and I ran a team. We started owning a brokerage. We were a RE/MAX brokerage to start, got into independent. And then I got really into a coaching program that allowed me to become really good at becoming a better marketer and understanding how to run my business. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about here is that, with all the changes that are going on from a compensation situation, we're going to talk a lot about that. But my history and my background is all about helping agents become better and ultimately becoming better CEOs of their own little business.
That makes sense. So you see, we've assembled a team and we're really responding to the Department of Justice investigation, which started in 2018, of the National Association and other corporate defendants, brand names that we know, the clear cooperation policy utilized and required where to offer a property for sale and offer of compensation must be made. That practice was alleged to be violative of the Sherman Act, which really required antitrust adherence and no price rigging or controlling or any unfair trade practices or restraint of trade. Well, there has been on Halloween, there was a verdict of 8-0, where these practices in one case in Missouri and Kansas, that clear cooperation policy violated the Sherman Act. So there's so much response. We're questioning the fact that there is a real problem. We're making sure that people are aware of that problem. We're offering an opportunity to solve that problem. There's an opportunity for certification in buyer's agent compensation. This is something that can be handled, but there's a national conversation about this possibility of eliminating any income for buyer's agents. So there's a lot that we want to share, and you can learn how to tackle this problem.
So Scott, when you say eliminating the compensation for the buyer agent, you're talking about the seller offering compensation to the buyer agent, which is how it was done in the past. That would no longer be available if the injunction is upheld. So when you say that, you're saying now buyer agents will have to go out and have their own agreement to the buyer between the buyer agent and the buyer. Is that correct?
Yes, because there's a possibility that the plaintiff's action, which sought injunctive relief, which is really the termination of that offer of compensation. We know that independent boards have done that. The Real Estate Board of New York has taken away the professional to professional contact and really put it more in the hands of the consumer. So there's an opportunity here for the decision that affects the jurisdiction mentioned to eliminate that opportunity. And we're dealing with the National Association of Realtors, which is everywhere. I'm wondering, between the copycat lawsuits and the Department of Justice that is not going away, could there be a prudent approach to just eliminate that practice of offering compensation? The allegation was that the prices were artificially inflated on these properties because it included a commission that was never negotiated. A lot of the indicia were shown to be that the sellers and buyers did not allow the free market to dictate prices. It was thrust upon them in ways that they didn't know or expect.
And the buyer
So-
couldn't negotiate the commission that they were ultimately paying.
Right. And there's more to it. They finance it. So this is a problem. We're identifying it. We're letting you know why we believe strongly that there is a solution. And through certification, through Jay, who's an instructor, that can really lead to someone's survival and thriving in this industry.
Right. So before we turn it over to Jay, I have a question for you. I know that most agents are familiar with buyer representation agreements. However, most of them are not using them. And if they do use them, they're using them to maybe increase whatever was offered by the seller that was in the listing agent. So in other words, if there was maybe 1.5 or 2% offered and the agent says, no, I only work at 3%, and I'm just using any number right now, numbers that, would be identifiable as per the trial.
Sure.
So in order to make up the difference, they would have a buyer representation agreement that said, in the event that the seller pays X amount and I work for this amount, you would be responsible to pay the difference. I have not, in 37 years, ever witnessed a buyer agent go out and say, I don't care what is offered by the seller. I'm not taking that. I have my own agreement with the buyer, and this is what my value is, and this is what I charge. So it's irrelevant what's in the listing agreement. I'm sure you're also in agreement with that you've not seen that as much. How do you think agents will take on this new way of doing business? Because they will be responsible to do this now moving forward.
Honestly, I think a lot of them are going to freak out. And that's why we're here. Ultimately, yeah, no, there's been very few properties that we've seen either offered zero or an agent just said, hey, I don't want whatever the listing agent's offered. I'm only going to get it from my buyer. Very, very, very few. But that's a real situation that could come up and most likely will. If not just a very large delta, it could be everything. And I don't know a lot of real estate agents right now that are willing to go out and work for nothing. That's not going to happen either. So, and I'm not saying that the value isn't there. The value is there. We just got to figure out a way to show it and to identify it. So I've been coaching and teaching on this for about 10 years, about, watching trends and watching the compression of real estate commissions go down, down, and down. And, as Scott once said, it's the race to the bottom. And this might be the culmination of that from a legal standpoint. So I think a lot of agents are going to have to wrap their head around the fact that I'm going to have to either ask for a large delta or 100% of whatever my compensation is. Whatever you guys want it to be, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your fee is, but it's going to happen to where you're going to have to articulate your value, do a presentation, identify what you're worth, and identify it in writing with a buyer, just like you do a seller. So I think there's going to be a lot of agents, to answer your question, that will not understand what they're doing in this realm.
Right. Now, there's not been a lot of communication between the National Association of Realtors, even brokers to agents, and even trainers have not really been communicating this properly of what is happening right now. Mm-hmm. What do you think will happen to the industry come January 2024?
Well, I will say that there's one trainer that I know who's done a really good job, and that's Craig Proctor. He's done an amazing job of articulating this, and that was the program I was in. Thank the Lord, because it really opened my eyes. But I do think you're right. There's a lot of people who are just now scrambling, going, "Wow, what are we going to do? How are we going to train our agents into doing this without mandating and just hard arming them or strong arming them into getting their fee?" I think that there's going to be a lot of agents that probably will not renew their license next time. Do you think there's going to be a thinning of the herd? I don't know that it should be, because I think there's solutions and alternatives to that. But if you're deathly afraid of asking for a buyer agent commission or a buyer broker or loyalty agreement, whatever you call it, it's easier than you think. and it is the right thing to do. If you think about any other company out there, any other business out there, everybody has you sign something. They articulate their dollar, whatever their service is worth. Doctors, attorneys, plumbers, electricians, whatever it is, you have an idea of what their value is and what their dollar amount or what their cost is. For whatever reason in real estate, I think we're so afraid to talk about money and have that conversation that we just tend to sweep it under the rug, particularly as buyers agents. I did for the first 2 years. I didn't know anything about it. No one taught me how to do it. No one told me I had to, it's just like, oh, don't worry about it. The listing agent pays you. And I'm like, oh, okay, don't even bring it up. So, and I think that is kind of the old school thinking, but it has changed. It's going to change. So I think we're going to see agents that are going to be either by the wayside and go away, or agents are like, hey, if I want to stay in this business, I got to change. I got to adapt.
Well, Jay, to your point, the industry that we're in was really the only place I could think of where the professional was guaranteed payment and guaranteed enforcement. They didn't have to demonstrate their value. If X percent was offered and they did the job and a great job, that amount was paid. It was paid at closing with the agreements between members of the board. They're all members. They're all friendly in the context of payment. There was never a chance of being stiffed. So who else in America had a chance to make a certain amount? They knew the amount. They didn't have to negotiate the amount, and they were guaranteed the amount. No one on this phone call has that.
Nope.
And it didn't even matter their level of experience, whether they started last Tuesday or they were in the business for 27 years.
And that factor right there was found to be really a main indication of antitrust. But without getting deep in the case, without agents not having this blanket of security, and I'm one as well, now they're left to their own ability to negotiate and enforce contracts. And the problems we're describing are for everyone to know. The solution we're offering, and that's certification for agents and their own buyer's agent compensation, I want to say is really not for everyone. This is a national mastermind think tank. It's really only going to appeal to those several people, in a market, or a bunch of people in a state who really want to up their game. Maybe they're not doing well and they want to grab a slice of the market share. Maybe it's those stalwarts and the pillars of the real estate community where they serve, and they really need to guard their space like an old lion, making sure they keep their territory. So we don't want people to think that this is a cash grab or it's not for the masses. This is really for those kind of expert CrossFit people who want something more, and they're going to spend the time. And I feel it's important to mention that we have a year-long certification to this process. The instruction and the training from Jay will be month after month, building upon the prior session, making people confident, making them secure in the ability to procure an agreement which serves both parties. So
it's a skill building certification for sure.
Right. It's important. And like any other industry, you have to train and practice and make yourself better. And if not, there probably will be some offers of compensation for a little while until and unless it becomes illegal, like happened in the 5 boroughs of New York City. That's a different story.
Yeah, and I think to Victoria's point too is that it doesn't matter if somebody's been in the business for 3 days or 30 years. A blanket compensation for that person doesn't seem fair. For instance, if you're a senior partner in a law firm, I think your dollar per hour is much higher than it is as a first year
brand new associate.
New associate, right? So I think that is going to be like anything else. I shoot pistol competition with USPSA. My first match didn't do awesome, but I build skills and watch people, and and so it's not hard. It's just, do you really want to do this? Are you used to the blanket compensation and that's really what you got into real estate for because you heard it was just an easy way to make money? Or are you really building your business? Are you really building good value in your company, and you're providing an opportunity to articulate that to a client? Like anything else, you're never going to win every listing. You're never going to win every buyer. Nobody ever does. But I know a lot of agents right now that will not put a buyer in their car if they don't have a pre-qual letter or a pre-qualification loan. Yet they go out without a buyer broker agreement or any kind of other compensation. And I think that is going to be kind of the way that most good real estate agents run their business.
And for those people like ourselves that have studied this, and Jay's an expert in this area, our voice really is going to be tough to be heard because the misinformation through social media, the assurances and the salutations that are being done for people who are not familiar with the issues and don't know the current status, we really want to put that blame at the feet of the organizations, the state, the NAR, the trade associations, and leadership. So people, through no fault of their own, are unaware and kind of believing their own version of the stories.
Yeah, you can get a lot of opinions on social media about what's going to happen from people who are not experts in the matter. So I don't think any of us really know 100% what's going to happen, but I think we have a pretty good idea. And I think at least my agents are very well prepared for that situation. In fact, a lot of them, even today, they're like, Jay, I'm so glad I heard you talk about this ad nauseum for the last 5 years about commissions and how to set, collect, and negotiate your fee. And that's ultimately what we should be doing as an industry, right? It's not just I'm going to collect it. You got to set it, you got to collect it and negotiate it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's our business. But you got to get comfortable talking about money.
I could not agree more. So, Jay, what's the next step? So why should someone learn how to do this, how to demonstrate their value and kind of quiet out all of the myths that are out there in social media and really pay attention to what should I do when the changes come down?
Great question. When I first started USPSA, first thing I did is I squatted myself with master and grandmaster shooters. And the reason I did that is because they are the best. These are professional handgun shooters that get paid to shoot. And so I want to learn from the best. And I want to learn from somebody who's actually doing it and who's actually, doing things that'll make me a better shooter. And so to your answer is you got to get around people who are currently doing it, who are getting loyalty agreements or buyer broker agreements, or at least helping agents and coaching agents do it. If I have buyers, I just got one signed last week myself, right? So I still do it. Once in a while, I'll take a buyer out. I do listings, but you got to get with people who understand the process, who understand your concern and thought about why you can't do it or why you don't want to do it. So the next step is just keep an open mind, pay attention to this. Let us help you through this process, not only from a mental standpoint, but a very easy step-by-step basis on how to set, collect, and negotiate your fee with a buyer. And this will also help you guys with sellers. By the way, this is not just buyers. It will also help you with getting better listings and collecting your fee as well and setting it. But ultimately, that's what's going to happen. So we're gonna take the next steps to help you walk through the process to get you to become a Grandmaster commission agent.
I love that. Scott, where does one go to up their game?
Well, we have a website coming out, primerealestate.pro, in addition to the same Facebook group, primerealestate.pro Facebook group. There's much information there. There's our predictions. There are the series of case law and speakers, trainers, who are some real scholarly pieces we've aggregated. So there's a lot to learn. And we want others to teach their referral partners, lenders, and home inspectors, where there's a great deal of relationship building that can be brought if this information is shared and spread out around the industry.
One thing I've noticed too, coaching, training a lot of agents, a lot of people are very visual. So one of the things that we will also share with you is whether it's our loyalty agreements or our presentations and collateral. It's the cognitive circle of learning, right? You got to see it, touch it, and hear it. And I think that's going to be really important, because we can talk theoretics until you start really looking at, okay, these are the step-by-step processes. And so we'll be sharing a lot of that stuff too.
Exciting.
Okay. So I want to thank both of you for inviting me along on this. This is very exciting. My message to everyone and anyone who's watching is don't fear the change. Embrace it. We have a tremendous amount of success that can come through these changes. And if you build your skill properly, you will prevail.